what is execute non-query in UiPath? So you will have seen that there is one activity in the UiPath Studio for the database that is called execute non-query. So execute non-query is used for executing queries that does not return any data. It is used to execute the SQL statement like insert, update, delete, etc. It returns the number of rows affected. So I believe you heard about the activity, this word execute non-query in any other programming language. So this execute non-query means this is just for the executing insert, update and delete, this type of a statement which returns only the affected rows, not the result. And also you will have the knowledge about the execute query, so that is the different. So you can also learn about the difference between execute query and execute non-query. So I will tell you about that execute query also, because that is also the interview question. You can learn this, what is the difference between execute query and execute non-query. So this is the activity execute non-query. So in the .NET and in any other language we are just using the statement, but here we have the activity execute non-query and we are passing the queries there. You can write the query in execute non-query activity to insert, update or delete the data in the SQL Server database. In the query you can pass the variable parameters to insert the dynamic value to the database. For example, if you are going to insert the data to the table and you are going to pass the data dynamically, then you can use like this: insert into the table name and then name, value, description. So this is the one the value of the configuration table. We already have the one table configuration created in this database, that is UiPath RPA, and the values will be the single quote, double quote, plus name, plus double quotation, single quotation. Then again these are the different columns. Okay, so this is the syntax: insert into the table name, open bracket, column names, then close bracket, values, then open bracket, single quotation, double quotation, plus then variable, that your column name, and then plus double quotation, single quotation, and you can write all your variables here and then close the bracket. Now if you are passing the parameters, then you can use this syntax: insert into table name and the column names, or also you can remove this column names. You can directly use here insert into table name, values and @ column name. Okay, I will show you practically how to use this execute non-query activity in UiPath. So let me open the UiPath Studio. Okay, so as you know that before working on any database activity, we need to first establish the connection between SQL Server with the application, that is UiPath Studio. So let me take this execute non-query activity here, drag and drop this, and now you can see here we have the again option to configure the connection same as the connect. But as you have seen here, we have the variable name, and in this variable we have this connection string stored. So we'll click on this activity, go to the properties, and we'll just you can see here there are 3 connection configuration options here. First, connection string; second, existing connection; and third, provider name. Okay, so we already have the existing connection, so we'll write here the variable, that is connection string. Now there is no need to put anything in this 2 fields. Now here we have the input as a parameters and the SQL query. So I will tell you about the parameters, and currently I am going to tell you about the SQL query. And in the miscellaneous we have the command type text, store procedures, and the table direct. So currently we are just going to pass the text as a text, like insert into. We are not going to use the store procedure, and this there is an option output, that is affected rows. So as I already told you that this execute non-query is used to execute the query that is like insert, update, delete, which returns only affected rows. So we can take the variable here and we can use the message box to show the affected rows, and also you can take a write line activity or anything to show the affected rows, how many records has been inserted or how many records has been updated or deleted. Okay, so let me show you in the the SQL Server Management Studio. Let me take one new query, click here and click on tables, select this, click on new query. So we'll take this, drag and drop here, and we'll write here first select a star from table name. You can see here currently we don't have any data and we have the ID, name, value, description, and this is same as the config data, config XLS file, so in which we need to write our configuration data here. So currently I'm just going to show you the basic thing, and you can use this, you can store the configuration data. Okay, so let's suppose I'm using here the query insert into and the table name. So this is the table name. We can use this dbo.configuration, or you can directly use the configuration table name also. There is no need to put here dbo.configure. We can directly use this table name, insert into configuration. Then in the open close bracket we need to provide the column names in which we need to enter the data. So let's suppose we have the ID, name, value, description. So ID is a primary key and it will automatically add the row that is 1, 2, 3. Automatically it will insert here. So we just need to pass the data into the name, value and description. So we'll write here name, then value, then description. Okay, and now here as this is the syntax of the insert into, we'll write here values, then open close bracket, and now here we need to provide the values which we need to insert into these columns. Okay, so let me first take in the name, we'll take here the URL in the double quotation. In the single quotation we will pass here URL because we have taken the varchar in the name, and then here comma, single quotation again, this is also the varchar, and we'll write here the value is www.google.com, and here comma, and this is the description. You can leave it blank if the column is accepting null value. Then so we can also write here like this is the URL of Google. Okay, and now you can see here once we'll select this and click on execute, this data will be inserted to the table in this column. Now execute this. You can see here we have received the message that is one row affected, because this is the execute non-query. The insert statement is the part of execute non-query. So we are just getting here one row affected, and this select statement is a execute query. So once we'll click on execute, it will show you here the result, right? So that's why this is called execute query, and this insert into will return only affected rows. So this is called execute non-query. So same as this, we can copy this syntax, this statement, and we can paste here in the SQL query. So currently we are not using the parameters. You can see here, click on this, we don't have any argument name here, it means we don't have any parameters. So we can directly, you can see here it shows SQL query text must be quoted, it means that should be in double quotation. So put the double quotation and paste your sentence, paste your statement. Now let me show you. Here we have the currently one record, the ID2 and the same URL. Now let me run this. So what will happen if we'll run this project, then again this item will be inserted to the table, because here we have connected the UiPath Studio with the SQL server. Okay, that's why we can insert this data to the table. Now here you can see the output. So you can take a variable, Control K, affected rows, and we can use this in the message box. So we'll just write here affected rows. So it will insert the data to the table and then it will show the message. So let me run this, Control F5. Okay, so we are getting the message 1. Now let me select the query and execute this. So you will see here we have now the 2 records. Okay, and now you can click on the edit query and you can see here this is the hard coded value we are passing here. So I have just shown you because you can understand how to write the query inside this activity. Okay, so there is nothing extra, there is no special. You can just copy the same query which you are writing in the SQL Studio, Management Studio. You can directly same as you can copy paste here, and if you want to change, you can change here the value. Let me change here the value, that is let's suppose we have the yahoo.com, and let me change here yahoo.com. okay, now press OK, and again we will run this project. Then what will happen? Okay, it is showing 1, and then you can see here, execute this, and we are getting here another record, that is yahoo.com. This is the URL of Yahoo. Now the second thing, we need to now learn how to pass the variable. Currently we are using the constant value, the hard coded value. Now we need to pass the variable. So let's suppose we have the value in the variable, then how can we pass? So for that, let me take one assign activity here and Control K. This is for the name. Let me take one more and one more. Control K. This is for the value and this is for description. Okay, now in the name we can pass here the value in the double quotation, because this is the string, the value is also a string and the description is also a string. So we can pass here in the double quotation. Let's suppose I am passing here the project name, and in the value, so this is the config data. I'm just passing here the project name. The value will be UiPath connect with SQL Server project. So this is the name of the project, and now the description will be in the double quotation. This is the SQL Server connection project. Okay, now we have the value in the variable. So instead of writing the constant value, the hard coded value, we need to pass the variable here. So what we can do here, so one more thing I'm going to tell you here, as you know that in the insert into a statement we can also remove this. This is not required, we can directly pass this value here. Okay, but it will work if you are passing the all this value in the columns, then it will work. Otherwise you have to pass the only that column in which you are going to insert the values. So currently we are using everything. We will remove all this the constant data, because I am going to tell you how to pass the variable here. Okay, so you have removed everything. Now here you have to put here single quotation 2 times, and then in between the single quotation you have to write the double quotation 2 times and then plus plus. Okay, single quotation, double quotation, plus plus, double quotation, single quotation, like this. So 2 single quotation, and then in between the single quotation you have to write 2 double quotation, and then in between the double quotation you have to write 2 plus symbol, and then between the symbol, that plus symbol, you have to write your variable. So currently we have the variable name, that is name. Same as this comma, if you have multiple column then you can separate with the comma, and then single quote, then in between double quotation, then plus plus, and then pass your variable value, and again comma, single quotation, double quotation, plus plus, and this will be the description. Now press OK. Now again, now you can see here currently we have the different value, and here we have only 3 records, 2, 3, 4, and now this will be inserted into this table. Now press Ctrl F5, and you can see here. Okay, so 1 row is affected. Let me run the select query, and you can see here the record has been inserted. This is the name, project name, and this is the value, and this is the description, right? So by this way we can pass the variable in the execute non-query activity. Now the next thing we need to learn, that is how to pass the parameters in the execute non-query. So what is the parameters? So let me click on the SQL queries, and now this is not required because we are going to pass the parameters. So okay, currently remove this, and now let me show you here. Click on this activity, go to the properties, and click on the parameters collections, and let me take here the parameters which we need to pass here. So we have the 3 columns, that is name, value, description. So you can take here as per your requirement, but currently I am just putting here have only name. This is not required to match with your variable. This is not required. You can change the name. You can put here like the value like this, or values, anything you can write here. Here you can also write description, because here I am going to put here the complete name instead of DESC. So this is DESC RIPT and description. So this is the parameters, this is our arguments. Now you can change the direction as per your requirement. You can change from in to in, out, out, anything. Currently I am just using in. You can change the variable type, argument type. Currently I have only a string. Name is also a string, value is also a string, description is also a string. And if you have the integer, then you can select integer, you can select the object, boolean, everything as per your requirement, because next time, like instead of the config data, you will also work with your input data. Then you have the integer value, also you have the boolean value, date time value, then you can change as per requirement. You will also pass the value, this data, to the another workflow, so you can use here in, out. And now here in the value, the first option you have in the value, either you can use the double quotation and pass your default value, but here we are not going to pass the default value, so we have the value in the variable here. So we'll directly use the variable So we'll take here name, and for the value we have the value variable, and in the description we have the variable that is desc. Okay, so what will happen, instead of writing here the default value, we are taking the value from these variables. So we are passing here. Now press OK, and now click on the edit query, and also you can see the parameters from here. We have 3 parameters: name, value, and description. So we have to use these parameters, these arguments. You have to pass this in the query. So how can we pass? So for that, inside this open close bracket, we need to write here all the arguments like the parameters. So we have the name, value, comma, description. So you have seen here we have the description as arguments, and now this is the just arguments, and now we have to make this argument as a parameters. So for that we have to put here @ before the argument's name, @ and then @. Okay, so only we need to put the @ before the argument's name, and now that is done. You can see here again, you can review this. Insert into configuration the table name, values, the argument name. This is the argument name, value, description, because now we have the value from this variable into this argument. So we are passing this, and now press OK, and let me change the value so that I can show you this is working fine or not. Now I am going to change here the name as a channel name, and the value is, the channel name is UiPath RPA, and the description is, this is channel for UiPath videos. Okay, now we have the different values here, and we have set the parameters here. Insert into configuration values, name, value, description, and now let me show you here we have the only 4 records, and now this time it will insert one more. Let me press Ctrl F5. Okay, so 1 row is affected. Now execute this query. Now you can see here the data has been inserted, channel name UiPath RPA, and this is the channel for UiPath videos. Okay, so I hope you learned how to pass the constant value, the hard-coded value, and how to pass the variable inside the query, how to pass the parameter. Okay, so this is quite easy, and you can also change the query. You can write here the delete query, you can write the update query, the same you are writing here. You can just copy and paste and change the variable name, change the parameter as per your requirement, so that will work, right? So now we are done with the execute non-query.